Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Digital Front Door. I'm Scott Benedict. So, throughout my career as a retail merchant, one of the most gratifying aspects of my responsibilities was the opportunity to locate really high quality suppliers of products my customer wanted to buy. In fact, being a merchant with any retailer made you an agent for the customer, charged with finding great products that improved their lives and offered them great value. Now, during my time at Walmart and Sam's Club in particular, I found that most brands positioned their best teams staffed with their top people on our business, not only because of the size of the Walmart and the Sam's Club account, but because the complex nature of operating a business in partnership between the top brands and the top retailer in the world required the best talent operating at the absolute top of their game for both the brand and for us as a retailer to be successful. Now, in recent years, the expectations of the Walmart supplier community have not changed, but the definition of excellence and the attributes of top supplier teams has evolved and changed in what I think are some pretty fascinating ways. I personally find this topic very interesting as I connect with other members of the Northwest Arkansas community. I find that I'm not the only one. One person that has a great perspective on this topic is Jeff Clapper. Jeff is the CEO of Walton, a firm based here in Bentonville that provides both supplier education and advisory services to Walmart suppliers. And Jeff Jones is here in the studio, and Jeff, welcome. And it was so happy to have you here today and talk about the subject that we both have kind of a passion for.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So I know that you've been on a podcast with Andy Wilson before, and some folks in our audience may know you and may know Ethan Walton, but just maybe for some members of the audience who haven't had an interface with Ethan Walton, can you kind of introduce what does your company do and what are you really all about?
Sure. Yeah. Kind of as you said a minute ago, suppliers are putting their greatest talent and investment in Walmart as one of their top customers. And along with that effort, Nathan Walton provides best-in-class education and consulting to those Walmart supplier teams. And so that really spans all areas of the cross-functional or omnichannel team: supply chain, sales analysis, e-commerce, accounting, and finance, but really all key functions as far as the best-in-class supplier would want to have excellent people supporting that business. And it's classroom education and to some degree ongoing education or consulting with suppliers.
Awesome. Feels like there's a need for that, certainly historically and particularly now. And one of the first topics that occurs to me that's a topic of conversation throughout the Northwest Arkansas area is Walmart's plans to migrate their suppliers from using the decision support system or DSS as it's commonly known onto their new Luminate platform. And that transition feels like it's pretty important to suppliers, but what's your view on that topic?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Again, it is critical that suppliers familiarize themselves and really become experts in usage of Luminate. Decades ago, when Walmart introduced DSS and Retail Link, I think there was it was a wide open space that was a revolutionary idea to say, we're going to share this data with suppliers and we expect them to use it to maximize their business and ours. And over those years, suppliers really got on board with that idea and became accustomed to using that data in the way that Walmart intended. Now with the launch and sort of really impending cutover to Luminate, suppliers know that all of their operational data and a whole lot more is available for their use to build their business with Walmart. And so, and DSS will not be an option anymore. So, kind of coming back to your question in terms of how important is this to suppliers, all of the suppliers who have made the most of the data from DSS are really kind of working through that transition now, because that will no longer be an option and they will have to access that through Luminate, either as a basic subscriber or a charter subscriber.
So it feels like it's a pretty big kind of milestone moment that they have to get ready for, and if they're not, they're got the business potentially could suffer, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of the neat things with AF and Walton, we work with thousands of suppliers every year, by way of our classroom and consulting, and it's neat. We really see all shapes and sizes and all levels of familiarity with what's happening here in Bentonville. And so there are some suppliers who have known about Luminate truly for years, right at this point. And then there are other suppliers we know from all the work we've been doing this for almost 20 years. We know from that span of time that there are suppliers who are going to wake up. I mean, honestly, they're going to wake up on a cold Monday morning, try to log into DSS and think, oh my gosh, what has happened?
Right.
And so we've tried to provide a lot of resources. Walmart has provided a bunch of great resources for learning and familiarizing suppliers with Luminate, and then we're kind of taking that an extra step and providing a lot of extra kind of hands-on guidance and consulting and education in that space. But we're also just trying to get the word out with conversations like this. And if we can help a few more people not have that uncomfortable Monday morning, that would be great.
That makes a lot of sense. In addition to that, it feels like Walmart's focus on omnichannel and being prepared to serve a customer however, whenever, and wherever they really want is also very much at the core of what a Walmart supplier has to be focused on. What do you feel like as you work with suppliers, you and the team, what's kind of the big gap perhaps in a supplier's understanding of or ability to leverage Walmart's commitment to omnichannel?
Sure. Yeah, it's a terrific question. I think a little bit of a roundabout thought on that. A few years ago, it was really focused on the sales relationship that, between the salesperson and their buyer at Walmart. And with OTIF, it's probably close to 7-8 years ago now, they really expanded that to say, let's make sure that this is a cross-functional conversation between the sales team, the supply chain team at Walmart, and their counterparts at Walmart.
Right.
So that broadened the engagement and the importance of making sure, hey, in order to have a sale, we have to have a product on the shelf.
Right.
This isn't just a relational sales conversation. There's a whole lot of operations that have to support that. Now, get back to the question of omnichannel. It is all of that plus really comprehensive, best-in-class e-commerce knowledge and capabilities.
Right.
We've seen some suppliers who, understandably for strategic reasons over the last few years, have said, here's an outside group that can help us with this part of our e-commerce. So we'll kind of just set it aside.
Yeah.
And these are smart, capable teams. It's a sensible decision.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good reasons to do that. And at the same time, with Walmart's good and consistent effort to pull that together into an omni-channel conversation, some of the suppliers we work with are seeing that when, for example, marketplace is handled entirely by an outside firm and not a part of the sales and supply chain conversation, there are gaps and misses in, are we promoting product that isn't actually available? Are we actually, neglecting items that need to be ranking well for our store sales to deliver, whether that is to the customer who's in the store or through an online pickup customer. So really integrating the e-commerce conversation, of course, the supply chain conversation, the sales, the direct relationship conversation with the merchant, pulling that all together, right, is really where it's headed.
It feels like, just to kind of follow up on that in addition to kind of the strategic elements of, do you have the core elements of your business strategy aligned to where Walmart is headed and serving that customer wherever they want to serve? But isn't there some kind of back office flag flips that make sure this item is available this way and ready to fulfill to this location for both online orders? And
Right.
it feels like there's some back office elements. Yes, that it might be considered administrative as well as the more strategic aspects. Do you and the team find that?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I would say those priorities should be staying well aware of the channels where your items are available and how they are performing or ranking on those channels.
Yeah.
And that can be impacted by the content around those items or by way of or I should say, by way of the advertising and the promotions and what you're doing to elevate the positions of those items. If you're not in the top few rows, you kind of don't exist. And where that could play out in a significant way, of course, is if you are, let's say, doing a lot to optimize items that you consider e-commerce only items, and neglecting the prioritization of store items. And then the store buyer, or the buyer rather, comes back and sees, these items in the stores are not performing through the online channel in the way that we'd like to see, or the online pickup channel in the way that we'd like to see.
Yeah.
Kind of bringing it back to your question again, if it's not available,
Yes.
as at the end of the day, a couple of years ago, I think it was actually doing business in Bentonville, we heard a senior leader from Walmart say, make sure it's at the store, for that channel. If it's not at the store, whether they're doing online pickup or putting it in their own basket, we can't sell it.
Yes.
That's the key.
That feels like as the buying function for online migrated from San Bruno back here, and now you kind of got omni buyers and omni sellers. There was not only education internally that Walmart had to do with their teams, but the suppliers had to really become more omni in their view. I'm curious if you kind of zoom out for a second. Overall, do you encounter most teams they're ready for that challenge? They're partway on that challenge. Kind of the aggregate of what you view the readiness of the supplier community to do business that way.
Yeah, I would say there is sometimes in our own business we talk about gets it, wants it, has the capacity to do it. And I think there are a lot of suppliers who get it.
Yes.
And a lot of suppliers who want it.
Yes.
I think there's still a pretty good gap on do they have the capacity to do it.
Gotcha. So there's still some work to be done, it feels like.
Yeah, but heading in a good direction.
Good. So one other kind of continuation of that omnichannel theme, Walmart has always challenged suppliers to embrace the concept of store of the community, which in the physical retail world may involve making sure that the product that was offered based on the size of the store, location of the store, the demographics of the store fit the community. So it wasn't just one product assorted across the entire chain. Does now the overlay of omnichannel make that challenge for a supplier harder, easier? What do you guys see in your interactions with suppliers?
There's a lot of data that is becoming available to suppliers to address that opportunity.
Yeah.
There again, I think there's still a lot of room to make the most of that.
Right.
So directionally, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of suppliers who are really far from making the most of that data to become a store of the community supplier.
Right.
Having the data is a great first step.
Yeah.
Knowing how best to use it is the next big
Pulling the insights out of it.
Yeah.
Is still probably a work in progress.
That's right.
Sounds like, yeah. Gotcha. Pandemic, which is created a lot of havoc in supply chains across the industry. Walmart, their suppliers were not immune to its impact. On time in full, or OTIF, remains an expectation of Walmart for its suppliers, and seems like it's an area of the business that suppliers really need to execute on with precision. There's ramifications, financial ramifications, in addition to just missed sales for not doing that. What are the best suppliers that you guys work with? What are they doing to execute kind of at a world-class level on that aspect of their business?
Yeah. They are making sure it's a cross-functional conversation.
Right.
And they make sure that they have someone who's accountable for example, on time in full scores or OTIF scores.
Yeah.
OTIF has been out, like I said, for many years now, and yet it's not new. It's not new, and still there are suppliers who are just getting their heads around it. Maybe it's because something changed in their business, and all of a sudden now they are getting OTIF penalties where they didn't used to. But the story I tell is a lot of our conversations begin with the salesperson who owns the Walmart relationship. Just got a call from the CFO, and the CFO said, "What are these OTIF? That's what's going on?" And they may be large.
Yeah.
And they say, "Well, your name tag says Walmart, so the other person I'm calling about us." And so that's an understandable kind of first conversation. Inevitably, where it goes is it turns into a conversation between sales and operations and finance, and that's actually a great win for the supplier and for Walmart when it pulls everyone into that cross-functional dialogue about how are we managing the operations, the delivery to Walmart. So Now, the suppliers who do that well continue to have those conversations, and they have some accountabilities around it.
Yeah. Building on that, it feels like the core is forecasting on the front side, and sitting with the buyer's team on a regular basis to say, are we aligned on these forecasts? And then at the same time, some of the levers of demand are not just customers walking into the store and buying it and walking out to the front door, but product going out the side door to store pickup, delivery, drone delivery, ship from stores, ship from store. Exactly. So it feels like that's an area where even, at the top level of the relationship, there's a lot of focus, but it feels like, just the analysts and the supply chain team and those have really got to understand how to work collaboratively with the Walmart counterparts, be able to master the systems, the planning systems, that sort of thing. Your statement?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it goes back to your earlier question about how do great omnichannel teams do this. One of my points there would again be understanding those distribution channels at Walmart and how they work, making sure you have inventory and FCs for those different channels to effectively deliver and meet the demand. And on the other side of the demand, also, we kind of touched on it, but making sure you're driving, to the extent that you now have opportunity to drive demand with Walmart in ways that you didn't before by way of, let's say, advertising. Yes. Make sure you're driving demand where you have inventory.
That seems so logical.
Yeah.
It feels like it's not as easy as it.
Easier said than done. But if you start by paying attention to it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Dealing with a retailer the size of Walmart, I would imagine that some of the back office tasks, things like deductions, pricing errors, invoicing, chargebacks, OTIF one of them, really have a huge impact on the profitability of the supplier overall and on the P&L for the Walmart account. Specifically, what kind of challenges do you and the team see in terms of how suppliers kind of manage some of those back office functions, and are they being effective in doing it, or is it a real challenge for them?
It certainly is a real challenge for many suppliers.
Yeah.
I don't believe Walmart's not trying to make money by way of, these charges, but there's a cost to their business. And, I think they recognize, hey, having this transparency, having a channel for, reconciling some of these issues is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do hear from a lot of suppliers who have challenges with chargebacks, deductions, penalties, and so forth. We really strive to help them understand the root cause and resolve the root cause. We think of it as like, hey, you go to the doctor, I'm getting these terrible headaches. You could take Advil for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Does this solve the root? But we figured out why you're getting the headaches? Because that might be preferable, right?
It feels like the perfect metaphor. Yeah, don't get the root cause. Yeah, never going to go away.
That's right. That's right. And we will hear from suppliers like, hey, we've got people ready to dedicate to the dispute process, or maybe we even have outside resources for it. Hey, that's a great place to be.
Yeah.
If we can help you free up that resource in whatever shape it's taking,
Yeah.
You're going to be more profitable. Walmart's going to see better results, rather than continuing to take the aspirin.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know that Walton supports supplier teams, not just here in the U.S., but in the Canadian market as well, supporting Walmart Canada. Is there anything that kind of jumps out at you as differences between the supplier community that you help serve Walmart Canada and maybe the community here that works with Walmart US?
I think what we would see there might be fairly obvious. It's a different size customer to the Canadian supplier. So just a different investment of resource from those Canadian suppliers, particularly if they're only in Walmart Canada.
Gotcha.
If they are working with both US and Canada banners, then they see it, they want to invest in the customer overall.
Right.
They know that there's opportunity, and regardless, there's opportunity, across the divisions across banners for those suppliers. And then also they get the, it's kind of like, time zones or something. They get the benefit of knowing, when the sun is going to rise. So, like you mentioned, Luminate, suppliers in Canada had some visibility to what was likely coming their way. Right. Of course, now that will be the case, in the future. So, just for Canadian suppliers, we're often encouraging them, keep an eye out. This is happening in the U.S. Yeah, probably just a matter of time before it heads your way. Yes. And Walmart has since said that they're taking Luminate to Mexico and then to Canada. And so I think by the time that happens, there'll be some great learnings about the transition process here. Feels like we'll then let you be effective in counseling suppliers. You're at separate team. Yeah, it's obvious. I'm thinking also, the sibling birth order, right? Like I got to watch what my older siblings hunt through with my parents.
Yes. As the youngest child of my family, I could totally relate to that, as can my siblings. I know that recently you've been offering supplier chiefs kind of a free assessment, kind of hey, let us come in, learn about what you're facing in your relationship with Walmart, maybe how we can help you. Talk about that a little bit, and why did you all come up with that?
Yeah, there are many suppliers who really, the phrase we hear often is, we don't know what we don't know. And so we made that option available just to kind of walk through and say, what are we seeing in your team and in your business that could be better, and giving some guidance, just to, from a sort of no commitment, no cost conversation, but just to say, hey, your supply chain, here are some potential hazards or opportunities. E-commerce, the same thing. Maybe there are items that are so far down the list that you don't realize it, and it's only a matter of time until your buyer asks you what's going on with us. So we're really just trying to help identify some of those things, and then also just, how's your team structured? Is there a way to pull that together that in such a way that will get you better results and long-term success with Walmart, being a collaborative partner with Walmart?
That makes sense. So talk a little bit about your team, if you will. If the goal of Ethan Walton is help suppliers be more effective, I assume you've got some experts on your team that really have gotten the war wounds of the past, and then use that to help kind of guide a supplier to be more effective. Is that?
Yeah, that's right. And I think that is right. And I would add, we work really hard to be continual learners and students of Walmart as customer for our customers and suppliers. Because our team is comprised of 10, 20, 30-year veterans from retail at Walmart and Sam's Club in particular. And all of the knowledge and war wounds, like you said, that are gained over the years are really invaluable. And at the same time, to Walmart's credit, they are a dynamic, innovative retailer. And so what we knew, a month or a year or 10 years ago may have no relevance. And so we really work hard to continue to learn, to have the humility or the courage to continue to learn, so that we can continue to bring just good insights and value to the suppliers that we work with. And then the other neat part for our team, I think on a couple of fronts. One, we get to really see the impact of the help we provide. The suppliers who are just really wanting to improve their business and their success. And then also, we work with, by way of the classroom teaching that we do and the consulting that we do, we work with so many different suppliers from so many different categories, and that we have the opportunity to really be continual learners. Yeah. There's a dialogue in all of those relationships.
That makes sense. And it occurs to me that to cultivate a high-performing team with Walmart, you can't really be passive and hope for the best. That as a supplier, you really got to continually take your game to another level, make sure you're operating best way that you possibly can in order to maximize business opportunities. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. In fact, I think you and I might have a mutual associate, Mike Cockrell.
Yeah.
Who used to be a business partner of mine, a terrific guy. And he used to say, I'm just having echoes of Mike in my head saying, hope is not a strategy.
I've heard him say when he and I were both with the company. Yeah, it is a recurring thing. Yeah, that what made you successful in the past isn't guaranteed to make you successful. Yeah, in the future. So you kind of have to keep operating the bar, or taking the bar to a higher level, right?
Yeah.
Just thank you so much for coming and sharing your thoughts. I hope you'll come back and talk with us again at some point in the future, particularly as Luminate gets more fully rolled out. I'm sure there'll be interesting learnings that come out of it. So thank you, for joining us today. So my thanks to Jeff for joining us and sharing his thoughts on this important topic. And again, continual investment in your performance with Walmart and with Sam's Club is the best advice I think all of us can give. And certainly as a former buyer, I couldn't advocate for it more strongly. So important topic, something to continue to lean in. Been great having you on the broadcast today for the Digital Front Door. I'm Scott Benedict. Thanks for listening.